It's Christmas time, and I've got some lovely mince pies and Mr. Kipling's frosted ices. I mean, I'm not eating these all now, but you know, it's a it's a fireside time. We've got Ian there at the fire. Christmas
I've
dinner.
only
What
I've only got Red Bull. Right.
potato, turkey and ham stuffing, and also some. You got to have some baubles. So it's Golden Wonder glazed ham baubles. Yeah. I've got all the Christmassy things. So, what Christmassy film did we watch? And look at the reindeer too. Yes, that's right. It's the very Christmassy Black Christmas.
Well, this has become a kind of a theme, isn't it? You would think we'd review a horror movie for Halloween, but not us.
No, although we might still do that, but we love to do
First,
a Christmassy horror.
yeah, first we have the Hallmark style film, and now it's the horror. Some people might say
This
the
is it.
Hallmark. Some people might, some people's torture might be a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, it was more of a horror than that this film was, I think.
And that being said, we'll be back in just a minute with a full review of Black Christmas
1973.
4.
Is it four? Bollocks.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Christmas again, and we've got another horror film, like we said before, coming up. It's Black Christmas, 1974, and I'd seen it before a long time ago, but it was a very enjoyable movie for me. But we had Olivia Hussey, who just passed away at the end of last year, and we've got Margot Kidder, we've got John Saxon, we've got Andrea Martin, who pops up in it as well. We've got
Keir Dullea.
a stellar cast, yeah. Dave himself. So we've got a lot of great actors. Canadian film, really. And you know, one of the things that we like to do in this film, and I'm going to sort of talk about it here, is we like to talk about, the box office and stuff, but this was actually filmed in Toronto. Um, Although, a lot of it happens inside a house. Um, but it cost 1.3 million Canadian. The budget itself, sorry, was 686,000, and the box office success was 1.3 million, and 4 million worldwide. So not too bad for 1974. I mean, that's a pretty good profit margin, because I was wondering to myself, was it popular at the time, or did it become a cult classic? And it does seem to have been popular at the time. But um, joining me, of course, as ever, is Neil Stringer and our very special guest, Ian Lawther. Hello, guys.
Hello, Johnny, and Merry Christmas, should I say?
Merry
Yes, and
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Merry Christmas to you, Johnny,
Um,
and Ian.
Indeed. I love all the Christmas jumpers. We do try to be festive here. I do have a
Mm.
Christmas hat too, but I'm not wearing it because the camera doesn't like it and it flickers. So
Our
uh,
production values are so low, you see, it really,
we yeah, we are a very cheap BBC production that used CSO in the 70s. That's the visual effects that we've got here. Um, what I'll do, I'll quickly run through the synopsis of it for people just to give them an idea. But I'm assuming that when you watch this, you've already seen the film, because, and we're going to do it again, it's the spoiler alert. Yeah, because if by this point you haven't seen the movie and you're watching this, well, we can't help you. What I would advise is go and watch the movie, then come back and watch us and give us some comments about what you think. But basically, it is set during the Christmas season, speaks for itself. Black Christmas follows a group of sorority sisters who begin receiving obscene phone calls from from a mysterious man
What?
known only as Billy. The calls grow more disturbing. The women are stalked and murdered one by one inside the sorority house. It's a very sort of tension building film, but that being said, there's a lot of comedy as well, and there's a lot of very crude humor and crude remarks in it. But yes, very enjoyable. Um, Ian, I mean, what did you think before you went in versus what happened when you saw the movie?
Okay, I mean, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a huge horror fan per se. I mean, it wouldn't be my sort of wheelhouse. So I assumed this was a slasher movie, which it isn't. You know, yes, a lot of people get killed in some very, grisly ways, but it's almost more of a mystery, and suspenseful film. You know, you don't see a lot, in terms of grisly deaths or a lot of blood, which is what I was expecting. It's a lot more cerebral in a lot of ways.
Yes, when they said about the tension building, it's a bit
Yeah,
like in Jaws when they don't show you the whole shark. You do
yeah,
see some grisly moments in it. It does get grisly, and some of the subject matter as well as grisly.
it is.
Mentioning of abortion and things like that.
And
And
even the some of the language when, they get the phone calls,
yes,
it is disgusting, you know, but that adds to the tension and the eventual build to the first death. And then it just keeps going from there.
did you like it?
I did. I did because I mean I think I've said this to you before, Johnny, but I'm not a fan of just the slasher films really. Yes, okay, Nightmare on Elm Street maybe and Friday the 13th, Halloween, that, but generally I'm not a huge fan of that. So this was kind of refreshing that there was more of a mystery to it, and as you're watching it, you're thinking, I think it's him, or it might be him.
And I mean, on that point, this is something I wanted to bring up reasonably early, is that there is a bit of ambiguity as to who actually, you know, Billy actually is. Um, uh, concludes like that. Jess survives the ordeal, and the police mistakenly believe that her boyfriend Peter was the killer. He was a kind of red herring in there, and he's obviously killed and left, and she's left unconscious. And then the camera moves out, and you sort of realize, oh shit, they didn't get the guy. So that also, for me, that's the kind of thing I enjoy in horror. And don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing people that love those mindless slasher movies.
I will say
Everybody gets their own thing out of movies, but I prefer something a bit more interesting, really.
that's another thing I thought they done really well with the boyfriend, Peter, is it?
Yes.
He, throughout the film, he is slowly losing it. So it's very easy to think that he is going to be the killer. But as you say, at the end, you're like, maybe, maybe not.
He does it, he unravels. And I think, one of the things that it's important to talk about as well is that it's actually very well shot. Um, that's why some of the cheap and nasty, straight to video ones are very, very, cut very fast. Whereas this is much more of a film than straight out and out horror, as you say.
Yeah.
Um, so, Neil, I mean, what were your thoughts on it then? What did you had you seen it before? What were your thoughts going in versus when it was
Well,
over?
well, I hadn't seen it before, but I knew it was a horror thriller. Um, I'm a bit more into horror than say Ian is, but as I say, I'm not. It's not my go-to genre. I'm probably more sci-fi, but I do have a love for horror, especially more gothic horror and supernatural horror films. I do like those elements. So I do. have a soft spot for slashers if there's a supernatural or reason, lo a logical understanding of a story for it. Nightmare on Elm Street works successfully because there is a supernatural element by him being dead, a ghost in and invading people's nightmares. No, and the whole thing was it's making you feel unsafe to go to sleep. And sometimes I think the best horror is to make what is everyday normal, what would be considered safe, the most unsafe place. As I said, this film here, the danger is he's in the house that they're in, so the police are outside. They could be watching, but it's no good because he's in the house. And even at the end, when he's thinking that they've caught the killer and the phone goes off again, the police feel like they have caught the man they've got off, and then she's left alone, probably at the mercy of the killer. Police kind of showcasing that the normal things would protect you, make you feel safe, they don't. I think that's what, the best horrors do. These girls are supposed to be having like a party, they all get drunk. Well, obviously someone's messing with them, but they don't know it's in the house. Also, there's layers to the characters. I mean, even Margot Kidder's character, Barb, she's obviously an alcoholic who's struggling to fit in, well, because her parents have abandoned her. So her plans have changed and she's feeling neglected. I think she drinks just to keep herself going. She's got a bit of that spunk that made her version of Lois Lane such a good version of the character in the role.
Felicia didn't know Superman at this time.
And speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, we have John Saxon in this, who, as we noted, when we were watching it, went on to be in Nightmare on Elm Street. So interesting there. And um, I don't have the character listed here actually, so uh, I will put the guy's
Which
name up
character?
on the screen. But the desk sergeant was
Oh, yes.
so inept. That's
Yeah,
part of the comedy too, actually.
I was
There,
going to say that, John Saxon plays the only police officer that's competent, really.
because the other
You
guy was credited as laughing detective.
Yeah,
yeah, that says it all, really, doesn't it?
but I think he was in on the joke. He and John Saxon were in on a joke that the sergeant didn't know when you read the number right that Barb had provided for him earlier.
Yeah, it was a dirty joke.
Mhm.
Fellatio. The less said about that on YouTube, probably the better.
Probably the better. Yeah, yeah.
He's kind of like Frank from MASH type function in a way that Death Sergeant.
He is, but he's less pompous, I
Yeah.
suppose. Obviously, Andrea Martin, who her character's called Phil, but she comedian, actress, voiceover. She still she's still well, I think she's just retired, but she's still active
Mm.
even at that, in conventions and things, and you know, um,
I think
so a very, very, stellar cast.
going back here, John Saxon was well known at the time. I think this was the year after he did Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, and Olivia Hussey was best known at this point because she played Juliet in the late 60s. Years later, she went on to play Norma Bates' mother, Norma, in the TV movie Cycle 4, The Beginning. And she was in the miniseries It.
And Marion Waldman was great as Mrs. McHenry,
Oh,
um, you know, who unfortunately did meet a, you know, pointed end, being hooked in the
being
attic,
hooked
but
and,
you know,
but she,
secretly drinking,
the coke with the girls and
I
yeah. And when she's putting her hand,
mm,
there was a poster with a certain, bits of anatomy exposed, and she was covering her hand, speaking to the other girl's name, or the other girl's name who I forget, her father was there.
Oh, by the way,
The girl who was murdered at the start, I should say.
yeah, I was actually I watched a video about that, about this, in preparation for this.
Claire Harrison, that was what she was
Yeah,
called, the character.
apparently she was a swimmer who could hold her breath, and that was one of her skills because when they filmed those shots of her corpse with the bag over her head, that was actually her holding her breath for those shots.
Right. Well, her name was Lynn Griffin. That's what I've got here,
Lynn Griffith,
as Claire Harrison.
Claire
Yeah.
Harrison. Yeah,
But I just heard that mentioned here. I thought that'd be interesting to mention because obviously you have to if she can hold her breath for a long time. Obviously, with film such a low budget, obviously.
And of course, she features heavily in our intro because that scene I took from the trailer of the shot of her at the window. That's very, very creepy. That's what I enjoy about that. There's an element of cinematography there where it's a Christmassy scene, but then
but it's
she's obviously,
unsettling.
it's unsettling exactly.
And not and
So
another thing on something is the eye. You see when you do see the killer's eye, it's a it's one eye, very wide, and
peeking
it's
through, yeah.
yeah, that was quite a chilling look, or very it kind of sticks in your mind.
And as you were saying earlier, the presumption was that the person was somewhere else who was doing the phone calls, and they had a police officer on guard. But as we discover later on, the police officer, we don't really know how long, but presumably from the beginning, really, was basically dead. So while they thought they were being protected, there's a grisly scene in the car, and they realize no, they haven't. And at the end, they're still not protected because he's still free. So I think that was a very nice sort of theme throughout the film, where this idea that
The police are protecting you, but they're actually
exactly,
putting you into more danger in some
and
ways.
it's not only that, but that the killer was able to listen in on the conversations, and then when he was making the phone calls from the other line in the house, he was able to include little bits of the conversation to you know make it seem like it was, say, that the boyfriend Peter, when he talked about the abortion and things, because he's there, he can hear everything that's happening, and he was able to
He
do
knows
that
everything that's going on. Yeah,
exactly. And they had a scene where Peter was said he fell asleep. And I must admit, when that scene happened, I was thinking, "Oh, did he actually do it?" Because I'd seen it. It was that long ago since I'd seen it. I wasn't 100% sure, and so it was a nice another little red herring for the viewer to sort of say, oh, maybe what was he doing there?
Even when you see a silhouette, beforehand, you thinking like it's the killer at one point.
Yes, when she goes into the basement and you can see him, knocking and trying to come in at the glass and everything, and then he crashes through, and even then you still think, oh, well, first you don't know that it's him. I wasn't 100% sure it was actually him at the beginning, but then once he crashed through, and I was trying to think, did he actually do it? And then I remembered they left it open-ended, which is what I really liked about the film. Sometimes there's when you go into a film and you don't really know what the actual film is, sometimes you come out, and if it is a mindless one, if it's not your thing, you kind of feel a bit disappointed. Whereas with this one, it has a certain quality about it. It lifts it up a notch from a lot
it
of
does. And
Christmas
it's
horror
very well
films.
shot. It's very well shot.
Yeah, and
It's
and
atmospheric. It's
Excuse me. Could you give me the number at the sorority house?
It's fellatio 20880. Fellatio. It's a new exchange. FE.
It's a new one on me. How do you spell it?
Capital F E little L LATIO.
and the director did go on, Bob Clark, he did go on to direct A Christmas Story in the early 80s, which was a holiday classic. So it's completely pulls apart from the vibe of that movie there, So the film was in good hands and the story was great. And one of the things in doing the research about the background for it, it says the screenplay was inspired by the urban legend, The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, and real life Montreal murders. So, although it's not necessarily a true story in of itself, some of the details are very much, based on reality, which I think adds to it, unlike the likes of Nightmare on Elm Street or something with a little bit more of a distance. Doesn't make it any less creepy or anything, but there's certainly a different tone to those films.
Well,
But in this one here, though, in this particular one, there was a lot more humor. Yes, it was a bit crude, the humor, but it was still, I don't know, it was definitely in the realism.
It never got any sort of sequel, sure it didn't.
no,
It
just
got a
a,
remake, but that's
Got a
it.
remake, yeah.
apparently
But
there's another remake, but the first remake is the second remake is very loosely um related to the original. But the first remake was done by Glenn Morgan and James Wan, or the guys who wrote for the X-Files and did Final
mm,
Destination.
I didn't see that one. Was it any good? Did it get
Never.
any good reviews?
No, I don't think it got any great reviews. I think the only good thing is it's not Michael Bay. Mhm.
Well, you see, the thing is when we do reviews of films and things, generally speaking, sometimes we do films that we know and love, and when we review them, and sometimes we just pick a film that we maybe haven't seen and going in blind, we don't know how good it is. This one, you guys obviously didn't see it, but I saw it once many, many years ago. So it was almost like going in blind. Obviously, some of it came back to me when we started watching it. So we never know for you, the viewer, what kind of experience is going to be for us personally doing it. Like doggy poo, for example, that's not something you would just decide to do unless you were doing a video. But this, I could certainly say this is a film that definitely has a lot of rewatchability in it. Sometimes you watch something for an experience and you go, right, but you don't necessarily want to go back and watch it. For me personally, I think it's got that, what I always refer to as a rewatchability element. What do you think, Ian? Does it have that for you?
uh, it does, because I think it's one of those films that because it has that open-ended ending, you'd be going back and you'd be looking for little details that maybe point, that maybe you've missed the first time around. So absolutely, yeah. If it's just a straightforward slasher, then you know everything that's going to happen. But with this, I think there's
But
enough
then
layers that you could have multiple watches.
you do have people, directors like David Lynch, that deliberately don't want you to know exactly what the intent was with it. They like to leave things open-ended, so I think it depends on what you want to get out of something. What about you, Neil? What are your thoughts on that?
There is a good thing to something that's open-ended. It leaves it open to interpretation.
Is it
And
rewatchable for you, the film?
yeah, I think it's rewatchable, yeah. I think I always find little things, even the actors do. I catch up after many views, so I always find something new each time I watch something.
I mean, Marion Waldman, I mean, her character was brilliant. You kind of get the impression she had a lot of fun doing that, and I do think, I mean, all the characters were great actually in it. I think Margot Kidder's character was very real. She obviously, she called her mother a cheap whore or something like that. I think she referred to her as. Um, Her mother, obviously, her parents are obviously not together, and she's obviously from a bad family dynamic. So, suggesting to go skiing with her friends. She basically told them they were going skiing with her. They didn't really have the right to refusal. I mean, yeah, obviously one of them did, but she was just saying you're coming skiing with me essentially, whether you like it or not. we always like to try and pick out characters in these films. We'll go around each of us and say, what was your standout character? But I think there was at least five or six standout characters here. It's very, very difficult to say. I'm going to go for Mrs. McHenry, Marion Waldman, because she brought an extra depth to the character that could have been a very one note, one dimensional character, but the way that she kind of um, tried to be very pretending to be polite to Mr. Harrison. Um, when she's not necessarily polite in the real world, because she
She's a
didn't
bit.
want them
She
to
comes
realize how,
across a bit two-faced. Nice
yeah,
to their faces, but then
she was trying to hide the fact that she was okay with the nudity and the crude, uh, behavior because she was contributing to it, but she didn't want Mr. Harrison to think that she was a bad influence on his daughter. So she was trying to, distract him by making him think that she wasn't that way. Because obviously she didn't want him to complain. So I thought it was very well done that she kind of tried to cover up all that stuff. But so, I mean, Ian, who else stands out for you?
for me it's Peter.
Peter? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name, Johnny.
Keir Dullea. It's Dave from 2001.
Yes, sorry. I just, as I said, I just love how he slowly unravels. You know,
He's Mr. Congeniality at the beginning, isn't he?
he is, and the thing is, yes, Barb Margot Kidder, she's the loudmouth. She's probably the character that most people would probably go remember when it comes to that film, especially as she went on to play Lois Lane. But I think for me, yeah, Peter was was just that the right level of going slowly crazy, you know.
Yeah. We've seen in other horror films that that's the spice that makes the villain, isn't it?
And you do feel for him because he gets told, "Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant," and then suddenly, and as quickly as I don't want it,
Mhm.
and you can
Yeah.
tell that he does, and it's just yeah. So yeah, Peter all the way for me.
I would say I do agree. Peter does stand out pretty well. I think Jess um has a gets becomes a good focus during the film. Even I think Claire's dad kind of has a um continual presence which I quite like. He seems to
And he almost has like a heart attack at the
yeah
end. Yeah. Yes, you're right. He was very nuanced, wasn't he? He was kind of indignant at the beginning, but he kind of stuck around, didn't he? And he sort
Mhm.
of got used to them, didn't he?
yeah he seemed to be he just thought, oh, he's only there for one scene, but he was, he's sticking around quite a bit. I thought, obviously I like John Saxon.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. He was finding out how his police officer was the one who was the one who was more clued in. Now he's a similar role in Nightmare on Elm Street, but because he's more pragmatic, he's more protective of his daughter, so he doesn't really listen to his daughter. Because he doesn't seem to want to believe in who the real killer is, because obviously, adults can't believe that their kids are being killed in their nightmares. So he has a similar role, but he seems to be more open, and helpful this time, whereas he's helpful in Nightmare on Elm Street, but for he seems to be more of a hindrance to Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street because of the supernatural element.
I do think it's also the also rans that came up as the two guys when we were talking earlier about, them being safe, thinking they're safe and everything. The two guys that knocked on the door that were the search party, and just don't worry, we've got it. You'll be safe. Don't worry, we're all on patrol. And
And you see them, make sure
that
you lock your doors, and you're like,
makes
oh,
yeah, because
you're locking
that
yourself
adds
in.
in that
Yeah,
adds into what we were saying before about the danger being in the house.
yeah,
And the
That
tension.
that adds to the theme
which I was
of you're trapped in with the villain. Yeah.
See the car outside?
Yeah.
We've got one of our men in it, so you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, sure. Yes?
Sorry to scare you, miss, but we're with the search party.
What do you want?
Well, we wondered if you'd seen anything peculiar tonight.
Well, not until you got here. Oh, well, they scared the shit out of me.
Sorry, miss, but you do know there was a girl killed in the park tonight.
Yes, we heard.
Well, we're just helping the police to look for the killer.
Oh, well, we'd ask you in, you know. But our dog died last night.
Oh, well, we don't want to bother you at a time like that. We was just wondering if you noticed anything suspicious here tonight.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, well, you just keep your doors and windows locked, and you'll be safe. You
Okay,
understand?
thanks a lot, I will.
And remember, there might be others from the search party around, so
Yeah.
don't be afraid. We'll be around to see that you're safe.
Good enough. Thank you very
Just
much.
remember to lock those doors and windows now, Dave.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
then.
Bye,
Good night now.
And if you want to get in touch with us, here are the many ways you can do so. We're on Twitter or X, and it's @ChatSchmat. The same on Instagram, @ChatSchmat, and we're also on Blue Sky. On Blue Sky, it's @chatschmat.bsky.social. And we've been on Facebook for a while, but we haven't really said anything about it. But here we are. It's facebook.com/chatschmat, so you can come along there. And finally, of course, as always, we're on email, and that is show@chatschmat.com. So please get in touch, and don't forget you can also comment on the videos as well. Yeah.
Yeah, which is another thing that ties it with Nightmare on Elm Street is the mother is has put bars on the door and the windows as security, but
Mm,
at the end of the film, it's trapping her in the house. She can't get out because
yeah.
she's locked in. So
Yes.
what seems to be thinking everyone thinks, oh, that she's safe, she's secure, locking the doors. You know, it's a case of no, you're actually not locking the doors to keep anyone out. You're locked in with the killer. You can, and you're locked.
Exactly. Exactly. And even when Jess, Olivia Hussey, when she goes to the basement and more or less thinks she's safe, we get to see actually the basement has a glass door, and it's not really that safe, and anyone could break that glass from the outside, and if you're trapped inside with the killer in there too, it added to the tension as well. Everyone loves a good basement scene, don't they?
Thank
Oh,
God,
absolutely.
thank God we all have double glazing these days.
I know with that, that won't stop them. That won't stop them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so lots of memorable characters, lots of good friends there. Nobody was cookie cutter at all. Everyone had their own layers of character, and you know, I think that's what lifts the film above a run-of-the-mill, cash-in Christmas horror film. Because let's face it, there have been the cash-in Christmas horror films. A lot of them have been very, very good. A lot of them have been mediocre. And, we're trawling through them each year to see some of them we've seen, some of them we haven't seen, to find out, what would be entertaining to watch and review.
Oh,
So from our point of view, keep making them, keep them coming.
the music was very minimal and hardly any music, but what little music there was very minimal because I was thinking there isn't really much of a score to it, but there is music
Hmm.
in there, so the music's very sparingly used.
Carl Zitterer, I'm not
Yeah, I've heard that name.
not familiar, but um, films that he's done, Murder by Decree, Moonstruck,
Hmm.
New Jack City, not ones I'm familiar with, but he's still working. Uh,
I've heard of New Jack City and Moonstruck, but I've never seen them. Is it Moonstruck that the
but
one with Cher and Nicolas Cage?
is it? I'm not sure. I've not seen it. So, Love Bites, My Boyfriend's Back, all from the 90s. Body Snatchers,
The
uh,
90s
the
version?
90s, the 90s.
Haven't seen that version.
He was the composer of that. It's actually very good. that one.
You see, I've seen the original 1950s one and the 78 one with Jeff
Hmm.
Goldblum, Donald Sutherland, and Leonard Nimoy.
Yes, yes, I've seen those too. But yeah, no, you're right about the music, and I think that sometimes if you,
That almost adds to the sort of the tension as well, because
yeah,
there's something real and gritty about it.
I think
Another
that's it. I think that's you've hit the nail on the head there. It makes it gritty.
another thing I like, yeah, but that it shares with what Hollywood will later share with it is the POV of the killer.
Yep.
Yes, yes, and the part where he goes berserk and and trashes everything as well. Um, and obviously that like they use a different lens for those shots, which makes you feel uneasy when you see it too. I love all that kind of thing. To put the viewer at as much discomfort as the victim, I think gives you a sense of realism as if you're
Which,
there. You got bursts of the attacks, but you didn't get a full-on lingering shot of them, and in Barb's death, you sort of didn't see too much, the hands, the bloodied hand and stuff, which I think in many ways, and this is just personal taste, some people love a whole load of blood and gore. It's not to my taste. That's not to say there's anything wrong with enjoying that, but I think that's possibly why this film, in my personal view, was lifted above some of the other ones that I've seen
horror's not about the gore.
because it was that, sorry?
Some of the best horror is not about the gore. It's about the tension, the scares.
Yes, but even just in terms of a filmmaking technique, you can go overboard. Mind you, sometimes that can be the fun of a film. There's like a Super 8 film that I saw that people made with their own money, and there was a lot of they'd gone to the butchers and throwing some meat around and, and stuff, but it was fun. It was a fun film. And so, I think it all depends on the context as to how enjoyable it is. I think sometimes, as long as there's a good story, you can be entertained by it. I just think there was a lot of films over the years, especially like the 70s and the 80s and so on, that didn't have any plot. It was just about getting to the next big gory scene. It's like just wanting all the sugar and not taking any break. I think
Well,
I think a nice balanced film, especially I suppose from the perspective we're talking about here of Christmas time.
yeah. Do you
That
know?
that's the kind of music, that's the kind of movie, sorry, that could be warm and cozy. It's filmed in the style of a film that could be warm and cozy, but actually it's a very gritty story, gritty characters, and grisly stuff is happening to them. So it reels you in that way, and then when you finished with it, you're kind of like creeped out and like, oh, you know.
Well, another film that seemed to be very small budget that I watched of Joel was one of those secret screenings they have in the Cineworld, and it was a film called In About Nature. And I what was different about this film was the whole film's from the perspective of the killer.
Yeah, and that's the thing, really, I suppose. There's so many movies out there, so many horror films actually, that there was inevitably going to be the cash-ins. There was all those films like the video nasties that got banned, and you could only see a really ropey third generation copy. Well, certainly when I was a kid, you only got to see like a really ropey copy that someone had got from somewhere. And
Uh,
at the end of the day, a lot of those films were hyped because they were banned, but they were actually not that great. There's only, you know what I mean? So um, it all depends on your personal taste. But I can certainly say that Black Christmas is a film that I would recommend to people. I think if you're not a
Absolutely.
fan of horror, you probably could get away with watching that, because I was saying during when we were watching it, it's the same level of gore as Taggart, the Scottish detective series. So if you can,
Yeah.
if you watch that show and you can stomach that, you can probably stomach this film. It's from the point of view of these students, and because they're trapped, it does have that sort of mystery, um, and the tension because they're being forced in many ways to listen to because they're trying to trace the call. So once the police come involved, and so they want them to be on the phone as long as possible. So they got to listen to it, and the character Jess points out a couple of times, that it was upsetting to listen to. But they've got to go through that to um, in order to try and trace the villain and the murderer. Um, and one of the most exciting parts of the film was not a murder, but the fact that they were trying to figure out where the guy was calling from. And piece by piece, you figured it out that, oh shit, they're ringing from the other number. There's two phones. They asked, "Oh, are there any other phones?" And they said, "Well, there's." It was actually John Saxon's character said, "Oh, it's a different number. Don't need to worry about it." And yet, that is actually where he was making the phone calls from. Even at the end, you still don't know 100% actually, what went on or what the motivation, I should say,
Yeah, the
for what
motivation, you're
went
still
on.
going, why is this happening? Is he just like a madman or, you know,
Yeah, you see, when I first heard him talking, it came across to me like he was traumatized by some event, and he was taking it out on the women because, say, his mother, girlfriend, sister, someone wronged him in his life. But then
yeah,
when
that's
he
it.
started when he started throwing in stuff, they were obviously plot wise, they were doing this as a red herring to make you think it was the boyfriend, but they started throwing in things that were happening. But really, what it was also doing, as I said earlier, was giving the viewer a clue as to, oh, yeah, he's still in the house and he's listening. So, you know, eh, eh, the villain had his own little subplot. It wasn't just killing people, he was providing clues as to his real whereabouts and stuff like that. And he was there to slightly confuse you as to what his identity was. And I think
So
the ultimate point of him being there, not story wise, but for the production of it, is to be that red herring and sort of point the finger at the boyfriend, which means that in the scenes where he went ballistic, trashing the piano, and then you see the POV of the killer trashing the place, it ties
you
in
think,
visually,
yeah,
as a, they're trying to lead you up the garden path that way, which also is an enjoyable thing to watch because you think you figure something out, and they go, "Hang on a minute, you missed this little detail," So all of that to say, that the storytelling within this is very good, and you do, even though there's no uh even though the ending is ambiguous, you feel satisfied at the end, even though you don't really know the motivations, you feel that you were provided with something of quality, to watch.
exactly. And that's what makes you know, that's a very hard thing to get right because I've seen so many films that have left, you know, like an open ending, and you just think it's a
You
bit of a
see,
cop out, or you
yes,
know,
and I think too, those films that did that and left you feeling unsatisfied, um ultimately they cut to the chase in those films where they think, right, well, we're not going to resolve this, we're going to be David Lynch about it. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to be David Lynch, not necessarily his style, but if you're going to take that approach where you know you want people to enjoy the film for what it is, not for what the director and writer want, which means it's art, it's open for interpretation. you know if you don't do that right, then you just leave massive plot holes. And sometimes characters can cut corners that don't make sense to get to that point. And I think that's in those types of films, that's where you've been left unsatisfied, where you wonder why they're doing this thing that ends up happening, and it's because they want to they want to throw in your face at the end. Oh yeah, well we're not going to really tell you. You know, it's not lazy writing, but it's lazy crafting of the story in that sense. You know, when they finish it off, they want to get to that point quickly and they leave things out.
Yeah.
Whereas I think here, you know, they've given you enough, and one of the things we've talked about this, but I think it is worth mentioning. A lot of the side characters in here are well acted, well written, and have when they do have dialogue, they have great dialogue. In a lot of films, you know, the side characters are, you know, not noticeable or forgettable.
Very forgetful, yeah. Whereas every character in this, has their moment. It might be small in some cases, but they all have their wee moment,
That's
to
it.
be memorable, and it works well.
So, in conclusion, to me personally, it's a 5 out of 5 Christmas puddings.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I'd agree too.
It's
Yeah,
5 out of 5 Red Bulls. Yeah.
5 out of 5 turkey stuffing balls.
Turkey stuffing balls.
Well,
Nice.
there you go. You can't get better than that.
No, you can't. And so I think what we're saying here, everyone,
It's a
is
Christmas
that
cracker.
yeah, is that it's worth a watch, and it's not. I mean, you could watch it with your granny, but oddly enough, it's not the horror that
It's the
would be the
language.
problem. It's the vulgarity would might be the problem here. Um, which and I will say once more, the comedy in this is great. You know, but it's not carry on style comedy. You know, it's just
No.
natural humor. You know, with Margot Kidder's character
What
leaving the
makes
phone number as fellatio. You know, um, but yeah. So overall, you know, great movie on my part. From my in my opinion.
it makes like you in the
Um,
movie there? On my
I know,
part.
I know. My involvement in it was magnificent. But um, but yeah, let us know. I mean, have you seen it before? Uh, you know, did you go and watch it after this came up in your feed? What did you think of the film? What were your, you know, what were your thoughts? Did you agree with
And
us? Did you think it
also,
was rubbish?
have you also seen the most recent remake, which was 2006, I think? So when I say recent, you know,
Well, yeah. If you've seen well, if you've seen the remakes, do you think the remakes do it justice?
let
Let
us
us know
know,
in the
because
comments.
is
Yeah,
it worth watching the remakes?
yeah, exactly. Remember, you can contact us on social media. Show@chatschmat.com is our email address. Um, you can contact us about anything really. But remember as well, we're looking for 1,000 subscribers, so you can help us get to that goal. Give us a thumbs up, like this video. It all contributes towards, you know, us being in the algorithm and all that. So if you enjoyed what we did, you know, that helps us out a lot.
And if you know
Um,
any like sort of movies, horror thriller movies in the vein of Black Christmas, let us know that you would like us maybe to review.
yes, and also I will add to that, we will be reviewing non-Christmassy horror films at some point. And if you want to watch any of our stuff, we have playlists. So if you go to chatschmatyoutube.com, you'll see you know our Christmas episodes are all listed in the playlist. All the Shark Fest ones that we did, and you'll see all the sort of themed episodes together, and then we have them listed as series as well, all the different series numbers, series one, two, three, four, five, etc. So you'll be able to see all of that. Um, and obviously, you know, this time of year, all the Christmassy ones. Um, but all that's left for me to say is thanks to you for watching and listening to all of our videos. We really do appreciate it. Um, and I hope you really do have a Merry Christmas and are safe and well and have a Happy New Year. And for me, it's goodbye and a Merry Christmas.
Well, until next time, well, I hope you have a great Christmas and a prosperous new year.
Merry Christmas, folks. Thank you for watching. this this movie's been a blast. Really enjoyed it. I hope you have a great Christmas and a happy New Year. And we'll see you hopefully in January for another episode in shenanigans of horror, I guess, and
Every episode,
stupidity.
funnily enough, is a horror, isn't it?
It is, but we have fun doing it. So I hope you enjoyed watching it. And thank you, folks.
Have a mince pie on me. Bye.
Bye.
We didn't get any. Hold on.
Sergeant Ash, could I speak to you for a minute? What's this? Well, that's the number at the sorority house. Felicia. Yeah, it's a new exchange. FE. New exchange? Yeah, Felicia. One of the girls that was in this afternoon gave it to me. She gave it to you? I know. Something dirty, ain't it?
Anyway, right.
My eyes are glazed over, and I feel like I'm just gonna.
He's
I'll
like
be
a
sorry.
hat.
Which is
Staring at this
said-
computer so long.
He's
and
like a
that's what
hat.
our audience said.